That's still the all-time best.
Yeah,
Johnny DePaula. I'll never forget that. So today is listing presentation, right? So I don't want to waste too much time on like going after the listings, like prospecting, unless you guys want to talk about that. I'd rather just talk about like the interactions from the beginning right through. And like, I feel like when I'm talking to agents, they're overthinking.
Hey, stop your video. Come on over here. Listen to this thing.
Hey, Andre, shut up.
Oops, sorry.
The overthinking is like, it's keeping agents stuck in neutral. And it's like the more experience I have, the less, I don't know, not that I'm not prepared, because I'm prepared, but like, it's all the relationship. Like, I was on 2 listing appointments yesterday, and if 5% of the appointment is spent talking about real estate, it would probably be a lot. And I know more about people than I really even care for. But like, if someone were to ask, like, if I had a secret, because I fail at more than all of you guys do, but if I had a secret, it would really just be like, kind of, you know, I'm earning that friendship and trust right off the bat, and like everything else is secondary. And I can limit the awkwardness that I feel like I used to be stuck in all of the time with listings. And I'm not the person that's delivering a ton of stats, and my presentation, don't get me wrong, it's a nice presentation. I'll share it with you guys. You guys could literally copy the entire thing, and my photo checklist, like, that's all nice. And it's nice because my admin created it. And if I didn't have them, I'd probably still be winging a lot of it. But I'm going to sound like I'm repeating a lot of what I'm saying when, you know, because agents are asking me, like, what do you do on your listing appointments? But like, I try to get them into their living room and sit down on the couch and just talk about how they got there, why they're leaving, what they liked about the house, what they would change. And within those questions, their personal information starts coming out. They're talking about their family. They're talking about their marriage and how they ended up in the area. And like, the more that they spew about their personal life that's not real estate related, the more likely I am going to be representing them. Especially, you know, if I know I'm going in and it's going to be competitive, because they love to remind you that they're talking to multiple agents, right? The more personal I get, because I know that the majority of the other agent's approach is going to be a data-driven, look at these charts and look at what I've done and look at me and don't look at you. And my entire conversations are catered to them and their personal life. So I'm the weirdo that's spending too much time on their listing appointment, but I'm also never going back to their home 9 times out of 10. After that listing appointment, I'm never going back once, not for anything. And I know that that's not going to be practical for a lot of you, but like the leverage points that I've created are like, you know, my listing coordinator. Once I go there, I'm not even in, shame on me, I don't sign any paperwork in person. It's a very little pressure at all, guys. If I have to pressure them into the relationship, the rest of the relationship's not going to be the relationship that I like to be involved in. And I know that, you know, I watch a ton of webinars and podcasts, and it's always get the contract signed, don't leave without a signature. But those same types of agents that are aggressive like that, I feel like they're struggling in the relationship piece of their business, which ultimately is our business. It's a trust relationship business. And if you can establish both of them, we're going to be so much further ahead. So I want to open it up to you guys, because I'll just keep rambling on. Like, where are you guys struggling? Anthony.
So what you just led with, thank you very much, because that's the first thing I was going to ask you when I had the chance. I'm losing when I'm walking in blind. See, most of my business is referral.
Yep.
Well, I'm walking in blind. So I'm not walking in with stats and stuff like that. So you're going to find, though, this isn't going to be foolproof, right? Because there's just some people who are going to want to gravitate towards some agent who's a digit head.
Yes.
But when you go in that first time, do you make it clear that that's the last time you're going to be in that house?
I don't make it clear unless they're really asking in-depth questions about the process. I don't make it clear at that point, but I also never get pushback because now I feel like my systems are streamlined and they're okay with, once I get that paperwork signed, Samantha's going over there to do the photos, and I don't even have paperwork signed at that point. And it's going to sound so bad.
No.
I'm investing my time, my photographer, that's also my listing coordinator. Like, I'm not getting, it's going to sound so bad. I'll probably get yelled at for it, but like, I'm typically getting paperwork signed right before that thing goes live. And it's working for me. And don't get me wrong, like you were saying, Anthony, yes, I do have trouble connecting a lot of times with the super analytical sellers. And I'm also saying that I'm okay not doing that business.
Yeah.
And you can't love everybody, but it's kind of nice being a little pickier. And like, I wish I was pickier years ago because I would have saved myself so much anguish and I would have loved the industry that much more too, right? A lot of times it's not worth it. And I get calls from agents all the time. This is what the seller's asking me to do. They want me to do this. They want me to do this. And like my immediate reaction is fucking run, right? But I'm also sensitive to the fact that like, maybe it's easy for me to say because maybe this agent, you know, they need that income and they're willing to go through the turmoil, although fucking close to the finish line, they wish they never did, right?
So as a follow-up to that, Anthony, and then I'll stop and let somebody else. When you're in a house, what I have done, I'm a lot like you, although I'm probably about, I don't know, 30 million less than you a year, or 40 or 50. But how much of you must touch on your success, right? I mean, you have to touch on some of that with them, I would think. Or
so,
no?
I went on 2 listing appointments yesterday, and I never brought up once how much I sell.
Okay.
Not once. And that's like on my mother's life, I never brought that up. I always bring listing materials. And, you know, if I have to cater to the engineers, I'll cater to them and I'll have stats and accolades if they care about that. If the question's asked, like, do you sell in the area? I'll divulge at that point. And yet I never lead with that. And to be honest with you, I'm also like, please keep in mind that 90% of my business is West Side blue collar business, right? So I'm serving a different demographic. I'm never going to be known as the luxury agent. Sure, I could do it, and yet I don't make it a piece of my business model. If it happens, it happens. I don't push for it. So again, I think with my demographics, my average sales price, it's like, for the most part, it's all relationships and trust. It's really where I'm finding where I'm going on a high price listing on the east side, and like, you're forced into those conversations, right? Because they almost know who's who, and, you know, I haven't seen any of your signs around here, and, you know, we're talking to Holly Creek, and like, you know what I mean? It's different conversations. So when I'm speaking today, I'm speaking based on my experience, and 90% of my experience is on the West Side, and my average sales price is still $130,000. I still do a lot of investments, and, you know, for every $400,000 house I sell, there's a double-ended $7,500 transaction, and it keeps my average sales price down. But for my business, I'm kind of thankful for it, because during a market shift, your units will protect you way more than the luxury market's going to, because the luxury market's going to be the first one that takes that hit.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Not that you need
Yeah.
it. I do.
Yeah, no, and that's just it. So I'm never talking about my stats. Like, I've seen, you know, sellers like to put the folders from the other agents that they've interviewed at the house and like keep them out. I can't tell you how many times I see like the printed out agent awards report of like every sale that they've had. I've never done that once.
Okay.
Because I don't think it's that important, but I'm also, again, speaking to my demographics.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to talk about what they're dealing with? Hold on, I think we got something in the chat. Anthony, what do you recommend for newer agents that are out on the west side, that are personal with the community, have seen you grow up, but would like to be taken seriously in your business? How can you create that line for being taken professional? Let me read this again.
Anthony, I don't know if that made sense. I sent
Go
it to
ahead.
you.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So, I am from the west side. I grew up in Gates,
Okay.
and the community here in Gates, you know, they know everybody.
Yeah.
So, and, you know, growing up in the community, now being an agent and, you know, seeing listings come up, you know, for instance, Rita has a listing 3 doors down from my parents, you know, so I
Okay.
know that agents can come up. For me, I'm having a problem of how can I come off professionally in front of people that I guess have seen me grow up and look at me more as like a young girl that they saw, other
All
than
right.
like a real estate professional.
So I can tell you a little bit of a background, and like, again, I'm glad you're asking, because listen, you're always going to have anxieties in this industry. And my first probably 3-4 years, I was debilitated with the anxieties and stuff that I created in my own mind. There were a ton of limiting beliefs, and when I say I barely squeaked through high school, like, I don't know how they even pushed me through, other than them not wanting me there for another year. And like, I was, you know, I was the class clown. I was the screwball. And like, you know, I was never mean, but I was always like, you know, I was hyperactive and couldn't stay focused because I wasn't passionate about any of it. So nobody in my community, right? I grew up in Greece. Like, no one knows me as Serious Anthony. When I do get serious, they kind of get creeped out. So ultimately, people want to do business with who they want to do business with. And like, I do feel like you kind of need that. My image didn't need repair, but I kind of got involved with like some charities, and me and my brothers formed one. And the intent was never to like get anything back, because we started it like right before I even got into real estate. But I got to tell you that has kind of shifted the mindset with people, where they're kind of taking me more serious. They see what, you know, my family's doing for the community. We've raised millions of dollars for, it's called the IEC Kids. It's about caring for kids. That's our non-for-profit. And we give money to families of sick children who are at Gallisano Children's Hospital. And for me, it was the best thing, because it gave me so much perspective on what a bad day really is, right? But it's amazing how many referrals I get from strangers that showed up to our gala every year that we have, that, you know, we get 550 people at. So if you feel like you need kind of like an image change, I would say to get involved with something and be pretty vocal about it. But yeah, again, only you know what you're trying, you know what you're trying to shift as far as their perception of you.
Thank you so much, Anthony.
Yeah, of course.
Anthony, I think you're hitting on a very good topic that you continued to hit during the COVID stuff, is that you're building such rapport that we used to do. Hate to say it that way, you know, when I first started, that, you know, before we could get all of our stats at our fingertips, we had to build that rapport and sit down with them on the couch.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the agents that we're going up against, even in the commercial side, they aren't taking the time. They're just trying to put as much stuff in the pipe, because they're either hurting or they have commission breath, or they're trying to take advantage of the hot market.
Yeah. And I can appreciate that. I mean, in my first 2 years, I chased everything, and I started in the business. I was at Remax Plus Monroe Avenue. Actually, Tony was there with me, and it was crazy. Like, you know, I got to be close with a lot of agents, and I still am with a ton of agents. There's a ton of great agents, and it was Monroe Avenue. It was East Side. People were literally giving me listings, and the market was different, right? There was an extreme buyer's market when I started 8.5, 9 years ago, and I would literally, agents were saying, hey, Anthony, I got a listing in Gates if you want it. And I was always like, well, what's the catch? They literally didn't want to cross the river. And I would chase everything, every investment opportunity, and I understand it. I was motivated by fear of law. I mean, I did the rule of thumb that, I was Googling, like, saving up for 6 months, and I hit it hard, and I hit it really, really hard. But like, looking back, I don't know how the hell I did it because I could never do it again.
Yes, you could. Yes, you could.
If I had to, of course. I have zero desire to do what I did before. Calling I was calling the white pages, literally going down to streets that I recognized, because I grew up in Greece and I recognized a ton of streets, and I had a laminated script, and I was the first one there and last one to leave. But I can tell you that, like, I don't get a ton of referrals from people I did business with my first couple of years, because I was so transactional, because the money was the number one focus, because survival was the number one focus. I had bills, I had a house, I had cars, I had responsibilities. So that's what I was motivated by. And like, it's going to sound kind of corny, but like the second I stopped focusing on the money started focusing on me way more. It was just a symptom to how I was going about my business. And I realized that I liked the relationships. And my first 2 years, I was terrified of a listing. I didn't want anything to do with it, especially at that time, because you guys, I remember like the postcards going out, and this wasn't that long ago. I haven't been in the business that long, but like agents sending out postcard mailers of like 50 days, average days on the market for them. Like, that was bragging rights, right? Right now it sounds crazy, but like, if you could sell a house in less than 60 days, that was bragging rights. And you literally couldn't give a house away. So I just focused on the buyers, because to me, that was like the easy conduit to a paycheck. And bringing a lot of houses, but it was. Sorry, every time the phone rings, it mutes me for a second. So I guess that's, full circle, coming back to the relational piece of the business, guys. I get the anxieties. I understand that a lot of times it's lack of confidence, so we have to speak around everything, but ask about them, ask how they got there. And when you leave there, like, and you formed a tight bond and you formed that trust, you know how much easier it is to deliver the value to the seller, because they feel like you're going to do right by them because you've established that rapport on that initial appointment. But with that being said, I never, ever, ever, and this is important to tell you guys, I never talk price my first time I go there. And my only time, I actually, whether it's good or bad, again, I always follow up within 24 hours with a phone call and with a CRM. I'll email them the CRM literally seconds before I call them to talk about what I came up with. And that's but I've established so much at that point, they're okay with that. And I rarely get pushback with pricing.
You say is, I need to let you know that my schedule changed. So,
Lynn, you got to mute. Tony, what's up?
I want to go right to that, Anthony, please.
Yep.
With you're going back with a CRM within 24 hours. Because of the relationship, and I found this to be good, but I'm not doing it to share it, to make it good for everyone. I want to know if this is how you would. Do you do a full-blown bells and whistles one, or do you just take the short CMA? I've been taking the short CMA because those are the comps and just discussing the numbers and why. Do you do that whole thing like we used to have at Remax Plus, not to bring that up, but 12
Yeah.
pages of
So
fluff?
I still use this. And I was saying CMA. I still use the RPR. I still use the RPR CMA. I like it, and whether you call it manipulation or not, it's really nice to be able to refine the value. I would never depend on it to establish the value. I'm still going in and I'm running my own comps. I'm looking at most important comps, what's currently under contract. Closed is great for the data, but real time, you want to look at what's pending. And I'm calling agents every day asking how the listing went, and they're all pretty open. And if they're not giving me the exact dollar amount it sold for, they're leading me down a path of explaining within a couple $1,000s. And based on that data, and it's a great opportunity to get to know these other agents too, guys. I mean, listen, whether you're following your fiduciary duties or not, your relationships with other agents are way more important than your relationships with your clients.
Yeah.
With those relationships, and whether it's your sellers or it's with other agents, like, I hate saying this, guys, offers are getting accepted from agents that have had good relationships and good transactions with other agents. And as a new agent, you're probably going to hate hearing that, but it's the reality. You get to gain, you gain influence in the community. So, when someone on my team is writing an offer, I'm encouraging them, and they come to me and saying, hey, do you know so-and-so? I said, yes, absolutely. I know them. I'd be more than willing to give them a call, to warm up the offer. Don't just email it, but warm up the offer and make a phone call. And if there's something we can do to make our offer stronger, or, and it may sound amateur, guys, I'm really big on be like, listen, here's what my buyers are thinking. Am I wasting my time? Are they wasting their time? Like, you'd be amazed how transparent some agents will be. So ask the questions and don't think you're being annoying. I love the agents that pester me when I have a listing, because it tells me that they're going to do the legwork to make sure that transaction closes.
Yeah.
I like the aggressive agents.
And so something you just said, Anthony, when I was starting out, I had a primary, I was a buyer's agent. I'd pimp her out to every agent who I didn't know, but I'd ask her first, do you like this agent or not? And then if they do, I would just pimp her out right off the bat.
Yeah.
We all know who's who.
Yep.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. How far do you go in miles for your CMA? So as far as I have to go, but I try to keep it really close, right? So like, I sell a ton in Greece, and Greece is pretty simple to run comps, right? It's going to be different than the log cabin in Mount Morris.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as how far out do I go for miles, it's as little as I have to. And I typically don't have to go too far. But, yesterday, one of my listing appointments, it was the house next door to them just went under contract it was listed for $182,000. And the place was spotless. And I'm in the house next door that was filthy. They built it in '83. Everything needs to be redone. Hey, Allison, you're I think you got to mute yourself, unless you want to talk, of course.
No, I'm good.
Background noises. Okay. All right. So it was a tough conversation, sitting there with them, explaining on why their house is nothing compared to the neighbor's house. It's that fine line where you don't want to offend them, right? And like, I still, I'm walking on eggshells during that conversation, but I also know that I have to get it out of the way. If you get it out of the way and you build rapport, the likelihood of you seeing that transaction through there's the path of least resistance of getting that out of the way. I think it's a bad move from agents that they're waiting to get paperwork signed, and then they're having that conversation, right? Like, hey, this is why we're not selling. Like, be super, super transparent. It's tougher up front, but you'll be happy you did that along the way. Like, try to get all the bad news out of the way in the beginning so you can end the transaction well, guys. I'm seeing agents struggling in the middle of the listing and the end of the listing. How likely are they to use you again if you're waiting for the bad news for the middle and the end of the transaction? Congrats, save that commission, because you're never going to get another deal from them, their friends, or their family. I would keep that in mind, because that's a lot of the phone calls I get from the agents, you know, with where they're struggling with those conversations.
So
If it
Anthony,
smells like smoke, let them know. If it smells like dogs, let them know.
question for you, Anthony, on that too, because I just came in a situation where, because I'm starting to use RPR too. So the RPR value was higher than, not a ton, but higher than what I would suggest, because the interior of the home, very specific in style. Okay, like total Southwest, not everyone's taste, you know,
Sure.
I mean, Calavera sinks and the sun on the floor in the bathroom, you know, the whole, I mean, very, very stylized.
Yeah.
In an otherwise extremely traditional neighborhood.
Okay.
So where I think the house has huge value, I was suggesting a bit of a lower price. So how are you, would you in RPR take like the interior condition and drop that down in order to kind of meet where your thought process is, instead of them seeing that price $50,000 more, or, you know, relative obviously to whatever the house cost is? Okay, so that's how you would really adjust that down in order to make that difference.
Adjust it down enough so you're not offending them.
Right.
Within that report. So what I'll do is, again, where you can kind of do, whether you call it manipulation or not, you can manipulate the number to cater to where you know the value should be.
Okay.
I'll take the privacy fit lever, right? And I would refine the privacy down. I would take the view part of it. I would scale that down, especially if, you know, if it's in a neighborhood or something like that. You're less offensive to sellers for things that they can't change, as opposed to things that they have chosen, right?
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I was kind of struggling with how to approach that conversation, you know,
Sure.
and I was hoping that I did it delicately and diplomatically with still being honest.
Yep.
So I don't know. We'll see. I'll let you know how it goes.
It's never easy, but don't scare yourself out of telling them the truth, right? Even if it costs you the listing, they may come back to you, and just be honest. And right now, I know, you know, pricing is a funny thing, and yet, like, this market is. Every delusional seller from last year, the year before that, and the year before that, all of a sudden the market has made them reasonable, right? The old delusional seller, this market's caught up to their delusion. And the market can support what they thought. They were just years ahead of the values, right? In their mind of what something was worth. But I'm asking in the appointment initially, like, I also keep in mind that a lot of people will embellish the number, so it doesn't scare me to give them my number, but I'm always saying, hey guys, listen, I know as sellers, in our mind, we always have a value for what our home is worth. And me personally, you know, I think my house is worth more than it probably is. It's personal, right? We think our kids are better at sports than they really are. We think they're better singers than they really are. And we think we're better than we really are. So, to that, I always ask if, I always say, listen, what do you feel your home is worth? I always like to know, because I want to make sure that this is even practical for me, and I want to see if I can achieve your financial goals. And they'll say a number, and I will tell you that probably 75% of the time, even in this market, it's higher than it's probably going to sell for or should be listed for. It may hit their number. We just can't start at their number, right? And there's the danger zone. And kind of like Laura's got a question in the chat. Sellers are heading way over asking price. How do you look at comps and be truthful, but seller wants more? My question is always, well, if I could potentially get 20,000 more, why don't we just list there? So here's the conversation where you want to avoid the egg on your face. And the conversation is, we may very well get to that point, but if we list at that point, we never will, right? If we overprice it, we have to cross our fingers that there's an interested buyer. If we price it correctly, we're going to be able to choose from 10, right? And within those 10, they're all going to be in competition. And of those 10, 3 can't live without that house, and they're going to write offers accordingly. So if you want to get to that number, let's try to get to that number. And if you want to get to 160, we're going to have to list at 140. And at first they're like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. No, it makes total sense. And I know that that house across the street, I know it's sold for 180,000 and it just went on public record, but it sold for 180,000 because it was listed for 150,000. And don't ever think of other agents either when you guys are pricing houses. I see a lot of bitter agents on like the Rock Real Estate page, the Facebook page of, you agents need to start listing the houses appropriately. This is great. Yeah, did it work? Yeah, I did get 27 offers. Are you going to argue that I didn't do right by my sellers?
Good point.
In this market, it's going to speak fast, and I think the lower you could list it, do it. And I don't know, it's been my approach and it's worked. And I'm also, while we're on the listing subject, I'm not doing delayed negotiations or delayed showings either, which is odd, you know, compared to what everybody else is doing. And I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm saying that it's working for me.
So Anthony, are you doing, so you're not doing delayed showings, but you're doing delayed negotiations, or
I'm not doing either. Not delayed. So all of them, and again, I'm having the conversation with the sellers. They're aware, you know, now the consumers are savvy what's going on out there, right? So I'm getting asked about the delayed negotiations, delayed showings, because they're hearing about it. And my logic, and it's been effective, is let's just ask when an offer comes in. They give us 24 hours to respond to it, but I'm not putting that in. And this way, if something goes live today, the strongest buyers and the strongest agents are going to be the ones that get in ASAP, right? So I'm not going to set it up where people don't have a chance, right? From the moment that goes live, I'm still accommodating 48 hours worth of showings without having to do delayed negotiations. What I'll do is I'll just send a mass message out. Whether I get a lot of offers day one or a lot of agents will wait for the second day, I'm letting everybody know, and I do it through the showing time, that we have multiple offers. If you're showing the property today, let me know as soon as possible if your clients intend on writing. And that's working. If an agent can't get in the first 48 hours and the buyers can't get in 48 hours, I don't think they're the best buyers.
So are you seeing a difference in the percentage increase of offers in the way of dollar wise, or are they pretty much staying that, you know, $10,000 to $15,000 over asking? If it seems to be that's what a lot of people are doing now.
Yeah, and again, it plays back into my price point, Todd. So like my price point's the busiest price point. You know, that $130,000 to $160,000. That's the hottest piece of the market, because these are first-time home buyers. First-time home buyers 4 years ago was 125,000. Now it's like 160, 175. So I'm still getting the same results. I'm still getting multiple offers, and now like the new thing that the offers what I'm receiving, Agents are writing open-ended escalations with no ceilings. We will go $2,000 over any competing offers and no cap on it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if your clients can't live without the house, not a bad move. I'd rather you overborrow it. I'd rather you overborrow at 2.75 than to feel you got a bargain at 5% interest.
Good.
Yeah. So Laura, no cap escalations. Basically, they're writing an escalation clause, but they're not setting a cap. Those $2,000 over any competing offer. And Tony.
All right, so yes, you can't argue multiple offers. I got 27. Now let me go on the other side of this for a second.
Yeah.
As busy as we are, as busy as we all are, how do you handle this? I'm finding the delayed negotiations it's more beneficial to me. So I know that on Monday at 6 o'clock, I'm starting to have a conversation, and by Tuesday at 6 o'clock, I've responded, as opposed to running your ass off Saturday, Sunday, trying to eat dinner with your kids, whatever. Doesn't that wear at you? Because you list way more than us.
So I'm not typically doing like a Friday listing and like making it chaos over the weekend. I'll typically do like, a Tuesday evening or Wednesday morning listing, and I'll wrap it up by Friday evening.
Okay.
So yeah, listen, I get it, guys. Like I wish that there was no showings on the weekends, especially this time of year. Our freaking, our summer goes by so fast. I feel bad every time I see an agent show one of my listings on Sunday evening at 8 p.m. It stinks. So Laura, the ramifications of no cap. No, I mean, there's no ramifications. You got to look out for, appraisals. And I've had a few appraisal issues this year. But I've done a lot of transactions. So from a percentage, 2% appraisal issues compared, for all the transactions all the listings I've sold. What about reselling that same house in 7 years? Great point. This is going to be location specific. Chuck disagrees with me on this. He just feels like the market was due. These houses were due. We needed this inflation. And I'll also say Brighton, Pittsford, Penfield, Fairport, Park Avenue, yeah, I think you're going to be safe because those values have gone up even in softer markets. But, I sold a raised ranch in Chili with Gate Schools a couple weeks ago. I got offers over $200,000 and they smoked in the house. Like, how do you explain that, right? Has the school district gotten better? Has the town gotten better? You know what I mean? There's going to be tough pockets. We are going to see short sales, which I'm fine with. I used to do them because it was business that a lot of agents didn't want to do, and I would catch free referrals for short sales, and they're the easiest transactions, guys. You find a paralegal that's good at it, it's really, the work is on them. And I was able to get my sellers $3,500, kind of like get back on your feet money, because they're probably going to be putting first and last month's deposit down on a rental because their credit's going to be affected. But with a soft market or a market shift, there's new problems and new opportunities. And we're seeing that right now, guys. Like, the hungry agents are gobbling up more market share right now. And a lot of agents, they threw in the towel in the middle of March when everything kind of stopped. And as a solo agent, whether it's a luxury or not, you can do it. I didn't have a choice. I have a staff. I have a lot of agents that need to earn, and we had to make a lot of adjustments. And a couple of years down the road, I'm going to look back at this pandemic, if it's over by then, but I'm going to look back at it, and it was probably the best thing that happened for my business in a long, long time. Other questions? Use escalation clause with a cap, as that is as far as my client could finance, or should I just see where it goes and opt out if too high for my client to finance? You could. You're not going to make any friends. Kind of goes back to the relationship with the list agent. They're going to sniff that out. They're going to see what your intent is. And that raised ranch I was talking to you guys about, that agent that gave me an offer over $200,000, I could tell you that we accepted one that was between $15,000 and $20,000 less than that offer. I talked to the agent and I just asked him, I was like, hey, what's the deal here? It's an FHA. You're going an obnoxious amount over. Like, is there something I don't know? And he says, no, we know we won't have to pay that much because we know it won't appraise. So the logic was we're going to be protected with the low appraisal. That was an interesting take. And I also busted him lying. And you guys have to get in the habit of doing this. Stalk the buyers out. They were FHA buyers that still owned a home. FHA, you can't have two FHA mortgages. Remember that. And I just happened, Tracy Knight in our office, she called me asking for advice on multiple offers that she had. And while she was showing me the offers, I'm typing in the buyers' names. Sure as shit, 2 of the 3 offers, they're supposed to be non-contingent, and they're not. And their loan officers know what they're doing too. They're issuing non-contingent pre-qual letters, knowing damn well that they're contingent. I don't care if their home is under contract. We know there's plenty of shit that can go wrong, especially the appraisals, which are taking a long time to come back. Tony.
Just a comment on what you said. What we found successful, I have my buyer's agent. We do a lot. I don't know who everyone else does business with. This is not a push. We do a lot with premium mortgage.
Yep.
And to be competitive, if you're conventional, 20% down, we found that saying, if it doesn't appraise, we're going to make up the difference in our dollars, and we lower how much money that they're putting into the transaction on the other end, because no one ever sees at the end of the day how much they actually put in to get their mortgage.
Yeah. Yep.
That gives them 15 grand more cash that they can make up the difference. And you put that in writing, it makes a difference. And I'm not trying to tell you, I just thought I'd share it.
No, I get it. And like, I've learned from this myself, and I'm telling you, like, I'm becoming less aggressive on like stating that the buyers shall cover the difference between list price and appraisal. But I would create like a depending on what the price is, right? Create like a $5,000 to $10,000 gap coverage from the buyer, because these appraisals are typically, when they are coming in low, they're typically not $20,000 low. It's typically $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000. That should cover it. Obviously, you guys, do not send that form in to the lender, right? An underwriter reads that contract, and they're going, wait a second. I can't ignore this. I can't unsee this. The appraiser can't unsee this. Like, if the listing agent's worried about value, I don't even have to run comps. My struggle's coming with upcoming listing in City of Geneva, 1900 house, remodeled, but not friendliest neighborhood. Wants to list at 120 and says doesn't want to leave money on the table. I think 100,000. A lot of current listings are a long time on the market, 150 days. Diane, not an easy conversation, but a mandatory conversation. They're leaving money on the table if they list it for 120. Again, not easy to digest for most sellers, and 100% the truth. You list it for 100,000. Let's see how high it will go. If we listed everything for $0, guys, the market's going to dictate the price, right? But you have to find your way to translate that to the sellers, and everybody's approach isn't going to be the same as mine, right? I kind of have a faster talking confidence, but if you guys are a little bit more meek, make it comfortable for you and make it real, because sellers can sniff out bullshit, right? I'm speaking with confidence, and they gain confidence in my confidence, right? And I'm never going to tell you exactly what the house is going to sell for. I've been wrong all year long, right? And say that. Again, uncomfortable at first, but it's going to play into a smooth transaction. And guys, I've fucked up so many times this year trying to beat my sellers up, and then like the house sells way more, but don't say, be honest. I have no idea what your house is going to sell for. The market is going to dictate the ultimate price, but it's our job to go out there and get more of the market, more buyers, right? And play into the price points, guys. At $100,000 in Geneva, we're probably going to get 300 buyers that are set up on searches up to 100,000 or up to 110. If we can get them in at 100,000, they'll beg, borrow, and steal the rest of the money if the house really works for them, because we know it's a tough price point. Really tough price point. I mean, the inner city single family homes that are in halfway decent shape, they're going for over 100,000 now.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, I know we don't want to lose the listing. It's an opportunity. It's a billboard in their yard with your name on it. And yet the happiest day you're going to have is going to be the day it's listed. And it's going to be a tough relationship after that. You're chasing them to reduce the price.
Yes.
And if you do have to take it, because I know a lot of agents are going to, make sure you have that conversation. Yeah. The market only takes about 24 to 48 hours to speak. If we don't have an offer in the first 48, we have to talk about a reduction after the first week and try to get it in writing, right? Put it on your exclusive right to sell.
Okay.
Get the change form signs when you're getting the paperwork signs. And again, it's human nature, guys. If you overprice it and it lingers at 120, right? And now the consumer says, this thing's been on the market for 14 days. It looks like it could work for us, but I don't want to be the ass for every seat either, right? If nobody else wants it, we don't either. Something must be wrong with it, which is so funny to talk about that. Like 7 to 14 days, it's already like it's considered a stale listing at that point. It's kind of nuts, but it's kind of true.
Great for a buyer's agent though, huh? It's great for a buyer's agent.
Absolutely. And that's like my message to my agents now is like, listen, let's start getting these rehab loans. Like, let's start getting educated on this. Like, if I'm a buyer that's sick of losing out on offer after offer, let's look at dilapidated properties that would function for the family, right? If the floor plan works and the location works, everything else can be figured out. If you don't have the money for the rehab, do a rehab loan. They're a lot easier than they used to be. 4 years ago, it was, you could use it for a roof. It was really specific what you could use it for. Now it's like cosmetics. You could do kitchens and baths, and I think it's kind of cool. It's the closest thing to building a house without breaking the bank. So chase what everybody else is ignoring, but you got to educate your buyers on why we're better off doing that. And I know that this is like listing conversation. I made mention of it. I think your best script for buyers right now that are getting frustrated because a lot of them are saying, you know what, we're going to hold out. We're just going to wait. We'll buy something next spring. It's too crazy right now. And then, right, your easy script with the interest rates, you guys, it won't happen, but I understand the logic of maybe this house would sell for $5,000 less next spring. Let's just say it does happen. If your interest rate is 1 point higher, you're substantially backwards on the extra 5,000 or 10,000 you're going to pay more today. And I don't anticipate that's going to happen, but I understand you guys are frustrated. If we like a house, we've learned the hard way multiple times. Let's go out and get it. And I think that's what's happening with these buyers and the agents that are sending these offers. Like, it's good to know what you're competing with, guys. Escalations with no ceilings. That's what you're competing with. Mm-hmm. And if they can go cash, right? Try and go cash. They could always pull a mortgage right after closing. So if they, again, if mom and dad could come up with the money, or they can find the money somewhere and pull a mortgage after, cash is still king. When I get a cash offer, it does say, the value of cash is there. I would say $5,000 to $10,000, depending on what the price point is. All contingencies are removed, and I can't remember the last, a lot of agents are saying otherwise, but I can't remember the last offer I've had to accept that had an inspection attached to it. Everybody's waiving them. So, and I hate it. I almost wish it was mandatory to have the inspection because the buyers deserve it. But when you're showing these houses, like maybe create a checklist: foundation, roof, furnace, and even the furnace I think is crazy, because if the house works for you and the furnace is old, come on. You can get a furnace installed for, you know, $2,000 to $3,000. We're not talking $15,000, $20,000. Like roof and foundation right now, if those are good, if you want a house in this market, move forward.
I like that idea that you gave us, Anthony, about you know, creating the checklist and having them going around and looking at it. Like, I think that's really smart.
Yep.
And I don't understand, because I saw, you know, on Rock Real Estate, somebody asked about, oh, how many offers have you had accepted recently that, you know, had inspections or something? And people are like, oh, all mine, and, you know, I've been doing inspections. I don't know what they're talking about, because all the business I've been doing, we've had to waive inspection because that's what, you know, that's what's winning it.
I won't comment anymore on that site. That site's turned into an opportunity for everybody to flex, right? It's the perception world. It's still fake book, and it's like, it's obnoxious.
I'm doing
So-
inspections for information only, for education for my buyers, just so they know what they have to maintain going forward. But I'm the last 3 or 4 I've done it that way, and I've won them.
It's definitely better than an inspection, and yet with multiple offers, it's also still like, it's the opportunity to walk away. So if you're going to do that, Jen, I would just encourage you to make it stronger. Book the inspection before the offer gets accepted. So
I do.
You can
I
say
do, and
that,
I put it in the offer. I put it in the offer that we're already set up for day. I do like 2 days for inspection, you know, instead of 7. And then I just do 0 for removal contingency, because it's just to move forward. And it seems to be, when I call the other agents, they're, you know, they understand. I mean, they understand how crucial it is to do it. And a lot of my buyers are first-time home buyers. So, I mean, I can't, you know
what,
I
Lynn
do schedule it.
Lynn wrote on one of my offers, and she actually, her person also was someone who, you know, insisted on having an inspection, but she wanted to do it for informational purposes. But it's still, you know, a contingency where the deal could fall apart. So she also had him sign the release and included that with her offer. So that way we knew that if we accepted the offer, they signed off on it, and it wasn't going to, you know, I mean, that's a sure way of saying, you know, it's not going to fall apart.
So included the inspection release along with the offer, so that they have an inspection, but that there's no tie to that. Okay, that's a good idea. I like that.
I also started putting an addendum in. This has nothing to do with inspections, but I also put an addendum in for my buyers that says they will not write on any other home during the delayed negotiation period, because people were, you know, writing multiple offers and then just choosing which one they liked and disapproved the contract the next day. It dawned on me when my buyers were like, can we write on 2 houses? And I'm like, no. I mean, you can, but what are the chances that we get both? Now we have to disapprove one contract. And as a listing agent, I would like to know that your buyer's not writing and just picking their favorite, whatever one they get. So I've been including that in my purchase offers.
2 weeks ago, I got an offer on 2 different listings that I put up in the market the same day. Same buyers wrote for both listings with different agents.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's crazy.
Yeah. Loyalty in this market, right?
Yeah. So.
Can I ask a question? I just want to catch what Jen Zilnick said, because when I wrote that an inspection was just for information purposes, I don't think that the agent took me seriously. It still just looked like a contingency. Did you say you wrote 0 days for reviewing the report and removing the contingency? Is that what you did, just to make it more clear?
Yeah, so basically once the inspection was completed, oh, I've done it two ways. I've either just removed it that day or just waited for the, you know, depending on my buyers, how comfortable they are. They just want to review the report, but there was no days to ask for repairs or to cancel the deal. Like, it was just after the inspection, we knew if we were moving forward or not. So I just put 0. And then usually I just get it signed within either that day of the inspection or first thing the next day as far as the report comes through.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Melissa, back to you, because I'm intrigued with what you were saying. So Lynn's sending the inspection release, but they're still doing the inspection.
Yeah, well, she did it, I mean, she did it for the one
Okay.
that we had, because she knew that that was going to be something, obviously, we were going in and, you know, it was a multi-offer situation and stuff, so.
Yeah.
She.
It's interesting, you know, they're still, you know, to me now they're really doing it for educational purposes only, right? Because they lose the right to kill the deal at the inspection.
Right. Yeah, because even if you say it's for informational purposes, it's still a
Yeah, you could
contingency,
still
you
kill
know,
it.
I mean, and it
Yeah.
still could die. So if you're sending in, you know,
Here's another thing, is a list agent.
Oh, there you are, Lynn.
Yeah, here I am. As a list agent, you want to see if you can have that inspection done after attorney approval, because all of a sudden, yep, inspection's okay, attorney kills the deal.
Yep.
Now, not for nothing, you know, are we really trying to trap people into houses they don't want? I mean, we're just trying to make things smooth. So, you know, for whatever it's worth.
Yeah, so I agree, Lynn, like if your strategy is we're not doing a home inspection, but you're wording it in a way we're gonna get it done quicker than the attorney approval is gonna happen, the inspection is, it doesn't mean anything, because the attorney still can kill the deal within 3 days if you have the inspection done in 1. So, you know, if it comes apples to apples, I guess the most competitive way to word it is just, you know, you're gonna have to pass inspection. Now, a couple times I've had the inspector go over there and take a quick run through on the major issue, you know, the major things that can come up, high ticket items only, the roof, the crawl space in the attic, and the furnace. Give them $100 and then get that out of the way, so that when we do make the offer, we're just no contingency with inspection at all. And my clients are educated on, you know, what are any of the safety issues that they might have to be concerned about. So can we go back to the listing side, Ann?
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about, if you could, talk when you sit down with the client and you're trying to create this 10,000 view over the transition between selling and buying, and how that's going to look being a contingent buyer in this market. Even though your house is under contract, and even though, you know, we're like days away from mortgage commitment and we're still up against 3 or 4 offers, tell me a little bit how you soften that conversation and not paint a picture where this is going to be, you know, gravy moving from one to another, because as competitive as it was when you listed is as competitive as it's going to be when you guys are going to buy. I really set expectations hard with my clients on that. But I'd like to, if I could pick something up from you, that'd be great.
I'm getting them all approved to go non-contingent. And right now in this market, there's a lot of false equity, right? So with a bridge loan, they could borrow up to 80% of the equity, and like premiums pretty much going for like what my word is, you know, for the value if they're buying before they put the house up, and they are pre-qualifying them non-contingent. And at first the sellers are kind of skeptical because the thought of carrying 2 homes is so daunting. But if we got an offer accepted today and we wrote it 2 months out, from closing day 2 months out to when your first mortgage payment's due, because your first one's always waived, from when your first payment is due, we're 120 days. I would be terrible at what I do if I couldn't get your home listed, sold, and closed in 120 days. So I'm telling you guys, you're never going to have to make double mortgage payments.
Right.
We have to go non-contingent.
So how do you set that up with premium? What are they looking for? 80%, you said?
A bridge loan, yeah, you set them up for a bridge loan. They'll let them borrow up to 80% of
Okay.
the equity in their existing home. And right now, even people that bought, 4 years ago with VAs, 100% financing, like, you've seen what this market's done. I mean, just in the last year, they have more equity a lot of times than they even think.
Okay.
So use that equity to support the bridge loan. And I'm not telling you that it's working 100% of the time, but I'm telling you it's working about 90% of the time.
Okay.
Right?
I mean,
So,
well, yeah, I mean, that's a no-brainer if you can get that done.
Yep.
Of course you want to go non-contingent.
Yeah, and a lot of times they can't put as much down as they intended to, but if it's making them cash poor, you can always close. And if you need money after that, you could always, I mean, how cheap is money right now?
Right.
You could pull a home equity line of credit, right? And you could borrow from your home, you could borrow up to 90% of your value on a home equity line of credit if you want to pull some cash out afterwards, if you're a little bit light. But you got to get creative, guys. And I'm telling you, like, I've got a really, really, really good loan officer, and I'm still asking questions that she may not have thought about. When I'm getting a pre-qual for one of my agents that I'm, inevitably going to be pushing off to them, if it's FHA, I'm exhausting everything to see what we can do to go conventional.
Right.
And last week I converted 2 FHAs to conventionals, and the buyers understood what it's going to take to get an offer accepted. And in one case, we paid off some debt, so the ratios were a little bit better. And the other case, the mother was going to co-sign to go on the loan, so they could go conventional. And now they're gonna have a way better chance moving forward. So yeah, I mean, to answer that, Frank, I'm exhausting every effort to go non-contingent.
Mm-hmm.
But my loan officer is also not going to, like, she's not going to write a non-contingent pre-qual letter if they are contingent, right?
Well, of course not.
But they get asked all the time, and that's why I know it's happening. That's why I'm digging deep.
I'm glad you touched on that because I try almost every listing. If we have to move from one to another, if there's a way, I always ask the loan officer, is there a way that we can go non-contingent anyway? Bridge loan, maybe, I don't know, but
yeah. So the reality is, guys, like, don't ask for it because you probably wouldn't like it when it happens when you're on the listing side.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, I've already had the rope.
Yeah, it just happened to me last week, and I will forever, right? Whether it's right or wrong, I will forever be super cautious with that agent whenever they write a deal. I've lost the trust, and guess what? If I've lost the trust, I have to explain to my sellers down the road when they write an offer, okay, guys, listen, here's my experience. Here's the history, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not supposed to talk bad about the other agents. Well, guess what? I feel it's my fiduciary duty to relate to my sellers what they've done in the past, and here's why we have to proceed with caution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense.
Again, guys, even if an agent's kind of getting nasty, like, just be careful. A lot of them will turn around, and like, it doesn't happen to me much more anymore because, they realize that if they get nasty, they're going to have to write an offer on one of my listings next week. So it's probably not in their best interest, but I see the way that agents are treating other agents, and I get texts and phone calls from other agents at other companies, like, asking me, what the hell is this agent's problem? And what the hell are you guys doing over there? And it was like, really? Come on. We were all new. So, have empathy. I'm really big on that. I'm easier on the newer agents than I am the experienced ones, because with the newer agents, there's a learning gap. With the experienced one, there's just a lot of fraud and ego.
Well, Anthony, you're starting to see a lot of those longer term agents getting so desperate to seal the deal or take the offer. They're doing things that you're sitting there scratching your head going, WTH. When you get those phone calls from those other brokers saying, what the hell are you guys doing over there? Have you come up with a response? Because I'm getting the same questions on my end. Even just dealing with some of the commercial stuff and as well as some of the residential stuff, we're starting to throw back in the pile.
Yeah, my response is always the same. When they ask what we're doing over here, we're taking more market share than any other brokerage, so we must be doing something wrong. Sorry, it's the truth.
Something wrong or something right?
We're doing something wrong. I'm joking, right? I'm being facetious.
Okay, all right.
So,
all right.
yeah. So, and that's the reality. I mean, our agents shifted faster than any other agents. When you guys go into market stats and do like closed business May 1st to today, and it'll show you the competition, that's showing the results of the pandemic, right? Because it was like March 15th, so the closing started happening halfway through May, and when you go to current, it's crazy. I mean, there was brokerages that threw in the towel, not just like specific agents, and ultimately it was, you reserve the right to treat that however you wanted to, and I get it. A lot of you guys were stuck home with kids, and the world got crazy really quick, and it's easy for me to say that, I adapted, but I don't have that aspect. I don't have the kids at home. I can adapt and I could be anywhere I need to be at any time. So it is different, but man, the agents that wanted to continue to grow their business that made these adjustments during the pandemic, they've taken market share, and it's not new market share. They've just taken it from other agents.
I quit my job during this pandemic just because we saw that Melissa was picking up, and I said, I'm all in. So 20 years in IT, and I quit.
How's that for timing?
It was unbelievable. Love
it. Yeah. Yep. And now Melissa works for him.
Yeah, right.
That's right. That's the way we're going to sell this one.
He needs to tell himself in order to be able to sleep at night.
Hey, stop it.
Wow.
We're still in the confidence building. He sleeps just fine. That couch is comfortable.
And that was the last time we saw Anthony, Your Honor.
Oh, I'm so scared of Melissa.
So am I, Anthony. So am I.
We meet on Thursday evenings.
What I say to Melissa in person is a lot different than when I'm on a Zoom. She can't reach me from there right now. Oh, Lord. Anything else you guys want to touch on? Struggles?
I think you guys talked about the buyers and converting, right, to like a FHA or conventional.
Yeah.
I had to touch on that. I was showing properties from probably January till, we just came under contract. He started the year as a dream program buyer, FHA. Again, we didn't know COVID was going to hit, so dream obviously was not the way to go as far as a contingency. Yeah. I struggled. I probably showed this kid, I didn't say kid, he's in his 20s, but I don't know, 15, 17 houses at the, and we wrote on probably 10 of them. Thank God he was, super patient and understanding. And, we had time because it was January, his lease is up in October. So, fast forward to, April, May, not getting anything. We're, getting killed with contingency. Then I removed the buyer for contingent dream program, went FHA, but it needed full concession. So neither one was great. So I reached out to the lender at the time, asked to get creative, wasn't very helpful. Fast forward a couple more weeks, I moved him over to a different lender, to a conventional loan. They got a 3% 3% lender credit. So all I had to ask for was $2,500 in concessions. We came to terms on a deal within a week of switching him over, and we closed end of September. And I haven't heard from the other lender asking how he's doing. So just ask your lender that you trust the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to get better with knowing the finances, the lending side of that, guys. It's so important that we understand that. And if you don't, hey Todd, mute yourself.
Hey,
idiot.
John, didn't recognize your voice. How are you doing? Everybody good?
Mute him.
Good.
I can't for some reason.
I just wanted to bring you up to speed on
Todd, we hear you.
We had a guy come in agent wrote it on a residential contract because they're going to try to keep it residential.
I hope he doesn't talk bad about me.
For the town code. The big thing is they're wanting to do seller-based financing.
Yeah, can you see my question that I sent to you?
Are okay with. However, I think what they're going to
You put a question in the chat box, Lynn?
You have
Yeah, I sent it to you.
guy here locally and his sister Angela down in Florida.
Oh, geez, I'm sorry.
The way that they're going to structure this, I think, based upon the 2-hour conversation I've had with the family.
Yeah, just like when you're
Angela's going to take the proceeds,
interviewing, I'm saying,
we
what's
carry the mortgage because.
Oh, I accidentally sent you the wrong cut and paste. But you see that right there? What's the script when you're listing your house much higher than your average?
The son asked me, and I told him immediately to
I don't
talk to
see
you.
it in the chat box, but what were you saying it was?
Here's the question. It says, what's the script when you're listing a home that's much higher than your average? I mean, you're a good example of that, you know.
And I said, I don't know, you'd have to ask John if you can carry.
You know, like I'm interviewing for something that's, you know, much higher than what I normally list. You know, the question's going to come up, you know, how many of these have you sold before?
So, I mean, without giving exact numbers, I mean, how many have you sold before, right? Is it 2? Is it 3? So a lot. I mean, the response is a lot. 2 could be a lot. It's not an exact number. So, you know, push back with that. If you have to show some of your higher price stuff you sold, great. But I would just try to shift that conversation.
Yep.
Tad, mute yourself.
And that's Angela.
Oh my God. I would try to shift that conversation.
Angela, yes.
Over to what your marketing plan is going to be. Just shift the conversation. What price point we talking?
600.
Yeah. You have to go in. It's like, listen, we say we treat all of our listings the same. It's bullshit, right? You have to go in. You have to be prepared way differently when you're on a listing appointment in that price range. That listing appointment, yes, super important to build rapport and super important. Sorry about that. Super important to establish the trust and the rapport, but you have to have a marketing game plan. You have to go in there and explain what you intend on doing, how you're going to circle prospect, how you're going to boost the listing on Facebook ads and Instagram based on the demographics that would play into that listing. And we're going to blanket your neighborhood. It's going to show up on people's news feeds. And like, you have to, in that price range, it's a lot of commissions, guys, right? So we have to, for our area at least, we have to go in with a price point. If you go in with a plan, yeah, they still may ask you to reduce your commissions, but the pushback's a lot easier when you tell them what you're going to be doing, because in that price point, right, they're typically, whether they're business owners or they're corporate, they don't think too much of real estate agents. I mean, and that's why, to be honest with you, I love my demographics. They're appreciative and they get it and they understand the work we do and they don't question things, where I feel like every time I list something in that price range, they're questioning everything. And they think that we put a sign in the front yard and we put it on the internet and everything else takes care of itself. So you have to go in prepared with that script, and that script should look like a marketing strategy on paper and what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and how you're going to find the buyer by going after that. And listen, the buyers in your price point, they're not waiting for the DNC, right? They're probably going to see it online. They're probably going to find it on Zillow. So, you know, you have to be prepared. Your systems, you have to show that your systems are in order, and you're going to get a ton of exposure. And you can oversell it, guys, because I mean, with social media now, it's so cheap. I mean, you put a $25 ad budget for your listing, you're going to get a ton of traffic.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other thing you guys want to touch on? Watch the market too, guys. I mean, it's crazy how quick it's changing, like, the values, and don't get me wrong, there's no indication of this market changing with the rates where they are, but like, try and get the most recent data. What something closed for today was the market 75 days ago, right? So when you're looking at, closing, look at them. I think the comps have value, but the most value and the biggest opportunity to call another agent that just sold a listing, it's under contract or pending status or continue to show. That's the data that you need. So call and ask for it and build rapport and be nice and be gracious and ask them if they've ever thought about an opportunity at Keller Williams. That's what Jen would do.
Oh yeah, I would.
Hey, Anthony.
Yo.
Yeah, so I'm a new agent, and could you walk me through what one of your listing appointments would be like when you show up? How you would walk them through that, and then also walk me through a little bit more on the CMAs and the RPR. What that, how you'd get a bulletproof one of those to display to them. Thank you.
All right. So did you just jump on, Andrew?
No, I've been on here. I've just been
Okay.
listening.
Yeah, no worries. All right. So, I mean, the walkthrough of the house is that what you were asking for? Like the entire appointment?
Yeah. So if you could kind of give me from the time they say, hey, we're going to list our house, you pull it up, you look and see what their house is, you show up at their doorstep. How do you kind of work that appointment?
So I'm walking in, and a lot of times I'm meeting them for the first time. And I got to tell you, like, if it's repeat referral business, guys, it's completely casual. And a lot of times I'm not bringing any paperwork at all, not even like marketing stuff. But if it's new potential business and you're in competition, like I'm becoming their friend that day, and I'm hoping that they'll come and sit down in a living room in a comfortable spot, and we talk about them more than their house. Once you can establish good rapport after sitting down and talking for 20, 30 minutes about them, I'm really big on giving them a pad of paper or asking them to grab a piece of paper so we can write down stuff that we're going to do before we list to maximize the sales price of that house. And I'm not going to ask you guys to do anything that I don't think we can get a 200% ROI on or more, right? And we're going room through room, and we're creating that punch list. When you're in competition and you've established good rapport by sitting down in a comfortable space in the house, then you're creating a punch list with them. Anybody else that they've talked to are going to be forgotten because you've built a relationship and they're building a game plan in real time with you, and they feel like they've made so much progress with you that if they went with somebody else, they're going to have to backtrack and do this from scratch. So the more you can accomplish in that initial appointment, the more likely you are to obtain that listing. So I'm doing a lot of that. Now I can screen share like what my listing presentation looks like. Let me see here. Sure. Let me see here. Actually, I can go here. You guys can see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right, let me move this over. So again, cover page talks about seller's name is in here because it's kind of, it's going to be a custom thing. And this is all like really easy to do. This is all, this is all within KW. Talks about the team, talks about a marketing plan, talks about price point, why that matters. gives a background on myself, and I can send this to all of you guys. You guys can, whatever I have, you guys can have. Talks about my support staff, and then depending which agent, so if the listing were procured by an agent on my team, they're going to be attached to that. Right now it's going to show everybody, but not all of them are on that listing presentation all the time. And the other piece, and I can send it to you guys, but the other piece that's really important is this photo checklist, all right? Let me push it over here. Still loading. So this is a photo checklist that me and my team kind of came up with, what we felt was most important when listing a house. So this is the stuff they're going to want to do before photo day. When you give them a checklist, it makes your life so much easier, because when my photographer is showing up there, we're not starting from scratch and moving stuff from room to room that they should have taken down. And I've showed them actual listings that I have where, like, little things like this. I mean, think about how that picture there looks to a consumer, and look about, I mean, you're talking about a minute of things that were done but changed the view of that room completely. So you're showing them the impact of minor changes. Look at the kitchen, little stuff, but world of difference. When the consumers are looking online, anything that distracts the eye is going to throw them right off, and they're going to keep clicking. And rooms like these are so important for them to focus on. Yep, so any of you that want these photo checklists, shoot me an email. It's abutera@kw, and then I'll share these files with you. And now, Andrew, I wanted to go over, you were asking about the CMA.
Yes, I was.
Okay, so let's do this. All right, RPR. All right, so Andrew, you want to just throw me an address? I'll do 123 Wood Road. Now, there must not be a 123 Wood Road. Oop. Wood Road, Rochester, New York. So, Andrew, if the first thing we're going to do, of course, you're going to go on the MLS, and you're going to look at the real comps, and you're going to call the agents that had the most recent sales that are pending or continue to show or under contract. And once you feel secure on your pricing, at that point, I'm going to RPR, and I am catering this to where I know it's going to fall into place. But this is going to save you in your conversations with your analytical sellers, right? So let's just say I ran the comps, and house needs some work, and it's on a main road, and the values are telling us $110,000, but RPR is saying 120. I'm refining this, okay? And local market conditions. Now, when it's comparing this, it's average for the current market. So it doesn't mean you have to, like, go high unless you have to change that value. But, like, I would keep this stuff the same if you can, but I would go view privacy. So, I mean, see that showing 105. Now I'm gonna move these along here to get to where I need to be. So we're at 109.79. And the reason I adjust these, they're less personal, right? You could still get to your value without having to completely offend anybody, because now they're like, they're kind of on the reactive mode, negative reactive mode, if you bash their house too much, right? So although we want to be honest, we want to maintain a positive rapport, and we can do that. So if I just change this, I'm going to create this report. I'm going to go to a seller's report. Now, when I do this, guys, if you have the couple that are engineers, or one's an engineer, one's a doctor, I'm going to give them everything, right? I'm going to give them the full seller's report. If it's Joe the plumber's house and Nancy the lunch lady, and they're easygoing and blue collar, and I'm probably not going to clog them with a ton of data. So I'm going display now. I'm running the report. Takes a couple of minutes to run this report, but when the report is done, and we'll wait for this and I'll show it, it's going to give you, especially when you're in competition, it's going to give you a leg up, because they're going to feel, yes, I do use the custom pages, so the question mark. So now you're saying, Christopher, are you saying custom like to you?
The ones that you can upload, the 5 free uploads you can use to put information in?
I don't. Any other information I want is going to be in my listing, my marketing packet. So I'm not doing anything customized other than, it's given a curb shot of the house, and there, in your picture and your name on the CMA. Let's see here, still being generated. And what I used to do, because I've been using this for probably like 7 years, and when I knew I was in competition and I was going to have to fight for it, I actually used to print these out and put the cover page in like the front sleeve of a 3-ring binder. And I used to actually go and leave it on their front door even after I went and looked at the house. And I would, if they weren't home, I would go and I would shoot them a message or call them and saying, hey, just a heads up, I left my CMA in your guys' front porch so you can go over it. Little things like that, it goes a long way with sellers. They feel that if you took the time to do that, you're going to take the time to do what's needed to sell their home. And it literally took me 30 seconds. So going through, showing the refined value, like it's going to give them more data than anybody even wants or needs. And it's going to give you true current market data, which is good. It's going to show comps. It's going to give you the description. Like this is going to be like the complete package for certain sellers.
Did you pick the comparable houses in this particular report, or did it generate them on its own?
I did not. I did not. It generated them on its own. And you can get some pushback of some that don't like, well, this house doesn't make sense, but it does when we're trying to achieve, like, there's a lot of different cost analysis, and like price per square foot can't be the only thing you go off of, but it does help you to get to that point, right? Because a price per square foot for a ranch is going to be a lot different than a Cape Cod or a Colonial. So, I mean, that'll shoot a report out. And again, I'm not using this to come up with my value. I already have my value before I'm even opening RPR.
That was very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, great advice. Appreciate that.
You got it. Share. All right, I think I'm going to wrap this up so I can get to my day. It's sunny out and it's raining.
Welcome to 2020.
That's right. But if you guys have anything specific, feel free to reach out and just shoot me an email. It's abutera@kw if you want me to send the photo shoot checklist and the listing packet. All right.
Thank you, Anthony.
See you guys anytime. See ya.